Hello to whoever finds this journal. My days in Maryland have been rewarding as they are troublesome, and as often dangerous. I have spent the last 6 years assembling my notes in hopes the knowledge I have gained over the time spent in this world to bring good fortune to whoever finds this, and to help them get a better understanding of the world they are about to enter. My intent is to create a compendium of how the world works, what it has to offer, and how you can survive and prosper. There are times I feel my work will only serve more confusion about what I found, but I also felt it necessary to compose my ideas and experience to illuminate a path to those who wish to explore. Contained within are recipes, survival tips, warnings, and more, all in an effort to promote safe travels and an overall awareness of the world you are entering. There will be times when you will be tested in ways this compendium can neither prepare you for or help you from. Your choices as a player and a guild may lead to swift and unprecedented consequences. I believe this to be the ultimate guide for survival and success. Welcome to Mortal Online 2. Hello and welcome into the Mortal Online Field Guide. I'm your host Bravado. In this entry, we will teach you the basics of fishing and how you can get started as a career angler. This is not a deep dive video. I'm working on a longer format adventure that is currently taking place over on the live stream, where we are traveling the world and fishing up a multitude of species from around the world. But if you don't know how to fish or are having trouble, you came to the right place. As always, important links down in the description below, and let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into the water. Fishing is by far one of the best things you can do to make money in the game. It only requires 100 skill points to get into the system, but if you really want to maximize your profits, then you will need to get into the butchery side of things. You will need scale lore, animal zoology lore, and animal material lore. From cooks to alchemists and even armor crafters, players are always looking for fish to get some of the best items in the game. Fish like blood kua make the best health food in the game, skull kua will make the best mage food in the game, and kelp dragon will make the best armor in the game. So many fish provide so many benefits to so many citizens of Nave. Popular fishing spots include Meduli, Toxai, and the Great Lake in the center of the map, also known as Sausage Lake. But some of the spots that yield more rare fish are oftenly the most dangerous, like Cave Camp, Saleno Cave, the Jungle, Hillsipia, and Galcor. But have no fear, the first three locations I mentioned have essentially everything you need to find the profits you are looking for. So let's quickly touch on the fishing skill. The fishing skill plays three major roles for fishing. You can fish and leave it locked at 1, which makes it super annoying, or you can max it out and be the pro angler you want to be. The three main areas the fishing role affects is it allows you to cast further, it gives you a larger window for error when putting tension on your line or missing a strike, and it gives you a better percentage of catching rare fish or legendary catches. Every town has a fishing vendor, and it will cost you about 2 gold to get started. You need to buy a rod, some medium line, and a few hooks. But first, let's talk about the hooks you want to buy. Hooks play a large role in the fish you want to target, and the baits also change the loot pool for certain types of fish. Things like time of day, depth, location, and possibly even weather also affect this, but we will get into that. Smaller hooks will give you a smaller catch, whereas larger hooks will give you a bigger catch. I haven't really seen any rate change with how often you catch fish with hook size, but depending on how many fish are within your loot pool or the fish you are trying to target with your hook size, bait, and depth will affect how many fish are interested in what you're putting into the water. So if you're fishing for turtles and you are using blue Sorax and fishing off the bottom with a size 50 hook, you have sticks, trinkets, and turtles in your loot pool. Blue Sorax is what is referred to as a slow bait, meaning you could spend minutes waiting on a hit or even a nibble. But your loot pool is so targeted that you are guaranteed one of these three catches. Starting out, however, you won't have to worry much about your hook size or narrowing down a specific species. The basic vendor sells 0.2, 1, and 5 hooks. You can use these hooks for trinkets and even some of the lesser but better fish in the game, like labrum for example, or calxfish, blue sorex, or kelp dragon. The higher end gear like size 10 and up hooks and strongline can be bought at the veteran fishing vendor in Jungle Camp, or on the trade broker for a inflated price of 5 gold a pop. Player market values may change with supply and demand, so look around. So let's get a little bit more in depth with the fishing system and talk about depth. Finding your depth can be super tricky. Your character's height and the water source you are fishing in will determine the depth. Certain fish will only enter your loop pool when you achieve certain depths, so you can't fish turtles out of a stream. When you are looking for a depth and you strike the bottom, a message will pop up and tell you you cannot catch any fish. When you see this message, start raising your depth by around 200 centimeters until the message goes away. Then go deeper by 50 or 25. When you are bottom fishing, it is wise to stay 95 to 90% from the bottom. So if you hit the bottom at 2,000 centimeters, you want to lower your depth to about 1950 to 1900. When you do this, you must make sure your character does not move from the spot and that you are doing the same cast in the same spot. The depth system can be a little buggy at times, and you might have to try casting in the same spot 2 or 3 times before aiming slightly left or slightly right to find those deep holes. Some fish appear within 50 centimeters to 500 centimeters, or 750 to 1700, or even 1700 to 3000. Trinkets will even appear between 50 centimeters and 3000 centimeters, but they will always be at the bottom. To understand loop pools with depth, turtles appear around 1200 centimeters. So if you cannot reach at least 1200 centimeters, turtles cannot be caught. If your max depth is 1500 centimeters, you want to be 90 to 95% of that depth, being around 1450 to 1400 to remain at the bottom. Just because turtles appear at 1200 centimeters doesn't mean they will be caught at 1200 centimeters. It is possible, but you will have more fish within your loop pool at that depth than if you were only targeting bottom feeder fish. Again, there is important links in the description below to help you find your target fish. I also posted a video about 2 weeks ago with a profound fisherman known as SQUIRRELLY'S 711. He popped in to give me a few tips, and it was so incredibly helpful. Links to his channel also down below. And since we are plugging, remember to like and subscribe for more guides and to keep an eye out for my next video. Let's touch on locations really quick. There are 3 main water sources in the game, but there are many water locations that you can fish out of. You can fish out of every water source, like small ponds and rivers. These will often have small and common fish. 2 large lake and oceans. These will house all the types of species. You can even fish out of fountains in the town square. Although you won't catch anything that I know of, it's bound to get you some attention. The 3 main water sources are freshwater, saltwater, and purified water. Certain fish can only be found in freshwater, whereas certain fish like rays can be found in saltwater. Some freshwater fish can also migrate to saltwater, like the skullkua. Imagine my surprise when I pulled one of these out of Toxai. Purified waters, depending on the depth, will house mostly freshwater fish, but these are the best locations to fish trinkets. As mentioned earlier, when targeting trinkets, you must fish on the bottom and you run the risk of catching sticks. Purified water has no sticks. So now that you know a little bit about the system, let's get you in the water. Equip your fishing rod and notice at the bottom of your screen you have a line, hook, bait, and depth bar. Make sure to split your line and hooks into a single unit. If you do not do this and you break your line, you will lose everything. Your bait does not have to be split. If your line breaks, your remaining bait will go back into your inventory. Oh, we forgot to talk about bait. So to touch again really quickly, anything or just about everything can be used as bait. Some of the fish will only bite certain baits, and others will eat just about anything you throw in the water. And even a bare hook with no bait on it will attract some of the most common fish. Popular baits include, but are not limited to, animal materials such as teeth, leather, fur, bones, and other materials such as wood, fruit, vegetables, or even other fish. If you have no bait, don't sweat it. Just toss your hook in the water and whatever bites, use that fish as your bait. Because realistically, different fish are often the best baits to use. Fishing is all about working your way up the food chain. Also, another bug in the system, if you stack your bait, the fish you catch will be on the end of your rod when you bring them in. If you get down to your last piece of bait or only put one on the hook, the fish won't appear on the end of your rod but will appear in your inventory. But let's get back on topic. Your depth has a slider for a general depth, but you can also click or double click the numbers in the box to type in a specific depth. For simplicity, I really only keep the numbers divisible by 25, so 25, 50, 75, 100. When finding my depth, once you are ready, left click and charge your cast like an attack. Look up a little bit to cast at an arc and wait for the circle to flash and then release. This will ensure that you are getting as far into the water as possible. You can also do things such as click cast, quarter cast, half cast, full cast, and max cast. Max casting is when the circle flashes. This is to cast in specific areas where you think the deepest spots are. Depending on your location, this can be at your feet or in the middle of the water source or slightly off to the left a few meters out. So try to test the area if you are staying in one spot for an extended period. Now that you're in the water, it's time for your first catch. So a few quick talking points. If after a few seconds or maybe a minute or two your pole doesn't twitch, that means the fish aren't interested in your bait. This can be due to a couple of things. What you're using isn't actually bait, and a message will pop up and say, hey, this isn't a bait, or the bait is not working in the depth or hook size you have chosen. So if after a few minutes nothing makes your pole twitch, try changing up your depth, your hook size, or change your bait entirely. There is a very distinct difference between a hit and a strike. A hit is when your pole will twitch if fish are interested. Another key note is if it twitches without a strike after some time, unless you're using a slow bait, try the previous steps and change up your approach. A strike is very noticeable than a hit can be, but it will have a very distinct plop or splash sound depending on how far you've cast it out. Also, your pole will visually bend. Depending on the size of the fish or the type of fish, it will determine how hard or strong the strike will happen. This is when you right-click. Let's watch a demonstration. Once you hook your catch, your pole will hold its bend. This is where the player's skill comes into play. Begin to hold left mouse button and bring the fish in. The fish will begin then to fight back. When this happens, hold right click and keep the tension in the line. You will see your pole bend, and depending on the type of fish or we'll say size of fish, small, medium, or large, an experienced fisherman will be able to tell what he is about to catch or take an educated guess on what he's about to bring in. Holding right click, as said, will keep the tension in the line, and you will hear a type of stretching rubber sound. Let's take a listen. Hold right click until this noise stops. It is a good rule of thumb to hold it a second or two after the sound stops to ensure the fish has stopped fighting, and begin to bring it back in with left mouse button. Repeat these steps until the fish has been caught. That's about all I have for this basic fishing guide. Be sure to check the links down below and watch the interview with Squirrelly for more advanced tips. If you enjoyed this guide, be sure to subscribe, as I have many more and many more to come. Good luck out there, mortals. As always, thank you for watching.